over the past 4 years, Dr. Morrow has worked on archaeological expeditions seemingly everywhere, as far-flung as Cambodia and Peru, and as close to home as the Vaughan House right here on campus. So, Dr. Morrow, thank you very much for being with us, and I'd love to talk to you today about the work surrounding the Vaughan home.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Of course, but first, I do want to talk about you for a little bit. So could you just tell us about yourself, about your research?
Absolutely. So I've been here at Vanderbilt for 4 years. Before that, I was at the University of Toronto studying Andean archaeology, so working in parts of Peru and Bolivia during my master's and PhD work. Specifically, I look at the cultures of the Moche culture of north coast of Peru, where I've been working on the site of Huaca Colorada for about 12 years at this point. Research is continuing with that material, but here at Vanderbilt, I'm working with the kind of the intersection of digital humanities and archaeology, looking at the connections between the built environments of these ancient cultures and the actual materials, how to represent them digitally.
Yes, and you have another dig site too, right?
Yes, I've been working in Cambodia for the last 3 years, beginning of the pandemic, and just recently returning back in about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wonderful. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about your closest dig to us.
Okay.
The Vaughan House.
Yes.
How did you get started on a dig at a house on Vanderbilt's campus?
Well, this is a project that's been ongoing. This is the 5th or 6th iteration of the excavation course and the 2nd iteration of the course where we're actually working with materials in the digital archaeology. This was a course begun in 2015 by Professor Stephen Bernke here at the Department of Anthropology. It is a field course that allows students to work through all the methods of an archaeological excavation, but close to home. Once a week for 2.5 hours over the course of a term. So a long-term project with many years worth of students coming through. So the digital archaeology classes are kind of the second component of this project. The excavations are done, the materials are stacked and organized, and then we start working with them to develop some data from that point.
Excellent. So we'll talk about the digital archaeology class here in just a minute. I want to talk a little bit more about the Vaughan House. Could you just tell us about it?
Yes, well, the Vaughan House was built in 1873 with amongst the very first buildings on campus here at Vanderbilt. It was originally the homes, one of the houses on campus for faculty members, just to try and draw faculty into the university when it was just beginning in the very, very early days. So at that point, Vanderbilt was a much smaller place, one main building and faculty housing.
Okay. And why dig at this house?
It's one of the last remaining vestiges of that period of Vanderbilt's history, the very beginning of the institution itself. Now, the house as it stands has been renovated and remodeled, reused, as I'm sure we've discussed before. The actual house itself has changed into the current home for the Robert Penn Warren Center for the Humanities. But previously, behind the house, there was a small wooden house, a small shack, you might say, wherein the domestic servants for the family would have actually have lived. So we have the small wooden building with a few photographs of this image itself. But the idea that we're looking at the last vestiges of the relationship between Vanderbilt's first faculty fellows within the university and those who really helped develop the university themselves as part of this unseen history of Vanderbilt's development.
Hi, I'm Dulcinea. This is Jade in archaeology, digital archaeology. Could you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your major, what got you into this class?
Sure. So I'm a rising junior right now, and my major actually is anthropology. And throughout the past couple semesters, I've been taking a lot of archaeology courses, even though that's not like my intended track. But I somehow just wound up liking those courses, and my advisor suggested this course and thought it would be like a good experience to learn more about archaeology and contribute, I suppose, more toward my major and around my understanding of anthropology as a whole. So I wound up here.
I think that's wonderful. So when thinking of digital archaeology, that sounds like a cool class. Could you tell us some of the things you've done in this class?
Yeah, so far in this class we've done a lot of stuff. We were able to scan, we were able to sort artifacts in the matrix, and it's a little bit tedious, but it was important work. But some of the cooler things I feel came toward the end when we learned how to do where we learned how to scan photogrammetry and process the models that way, and then also how we learned structural light scanning, and then we got acquainted with different VR technology, and we were able to see how like archaeology can like be directly implemented into those more modern technologies, which I thought was pretty cool because I didn't really know before this class that was sort of a thing that was possible, so it was really cool to learn.
Hello, I'm Dulcinea with Digital Archaeology class, and this is Joanna. Thank you, Joanna, for being here today. So could you tell us just a little bit about yourself, your major, why you're taking this class?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am an economics and environmental public policy major with a minor in data science. And I am taking this class because I just did research with Professor Giles Murrow, and I helped 3D scan a lot of the artifacts that we see today. And I just got an interest in like the 3D scanning, the curation of materials, and kind of wanted to explore like the whole process of it because I only got one tiny aspect of the class. So yeah,
I think that's wonderful. Could you tell us just a little bit about this group project we're currently working on and how it feels to be part of the sesquicentennial exhibit at the Von Home?
Yeah, so I mean, it's great just to leave, I feel like, a lasting impact on Vanderbilt in a way, especially since I'm a senior. But the current project, so many people are doing so many different things, as probably mentioned previously. But yeah, so everyone has their own little projects, some focusing specifically on little aspects of maybe an artifact found and the history behind it, and others focusing more on like a broader image of like the Von family. I'm currently collaborating with Sebastian on making a little bit of a image of what the relationship between the Von family and the servants' quarters could have looked like, just because that has been fully erased from the history. Not fully. We have one photograph showing that there was a servants' quarter in the back, but just to see maybe the relationship and the socioeconomic background of the Von family as well as the servants, and how that kind of could have maybe shown Vanderbilt's prestige at the time, and how they might have wanted to see more prestigious or like even just like starting up Howe University back then, especially after the Civil War.
Well, right now I'm here with one of the students, one of my classmates, Sebastian.
My name's Sebastian. I'm a senior currently, majoring in economics with minors in data science and business. So not too related to what we're doing right now, but the reason I am in this class is to essentially fulfill my data science minor requirements. Albeit is a little bit different from what I do originally. I have had a really good time in this class. Starting out, there's been several components to this class. There's been a virtual reality component, but even before that, we started with sorting out a lot of ceramic artifacts that previous classes and previous semesters found surrounding the Von home. So we started out with that, but then we went to things like photogrammetry, which you essentially take photographs of surrounding the artifact and you model that digitally. And then also the 3D structured light scanning, which is a different way of modeling the artifact in a digital format. And so the way, with what I want to do with my project, just wanting to model the artifacts with a photogrammetry in a photogrammetry sense, and to just uncover the different aspects and insights of what the Von home had, in its past historically.
Hello, I'm Dulcinea with Key, who's also in the digital archaeology class with Dr. Giles Moreau. Key, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself, your major, what got you into this class?
So I'm a sophomore in Vanderbilt. I'm majoring in studio art, and I found out about this class through Professor Keiss. He's also he has a class that's also doing the exhibit with us, and I was kind of looking for classes that I was interested in, and this piqued my interest. So
Interesting. Now you mentioned an exhibit. Could you tell us a little bit more about that specific exhibit and what we're doing for that exhibit?
So this exhibit is for the 150-year anniversary of Vanderbilt, and it kind of looks at the Von home, and since it's one of the oldest still standing infrastructures in Vanderbilt, as kind of an interesting lens to look at the history of the school as an institution, And yeah, there's just like a really rich history in the building.
I agree entirely with that. And could you tell us just a little bit about your final project?
Yeah, so I'm using structured light scanning, and I have this artifact. It's like a metal coin, and I'm like taking like pieces that make up the coin, and I'm gonna put them up in like an augmented reality space. And as like the audience member like progresses through the building, they're gonna like see each piece, and then by the end of it, there's gonna be like the metal coin itself, and it's gonna talk about like the history of the Bond home and like stuff like that. Yeah,
That's wonderful. And you mentioned augmented reality, which is super neat, which is something we also learned in class. Could you tell us just a little bit more about that?
I'm not like entirely sure.
That's fine, don't worry.
Well, technically, so like based off of like my understanding of it is, it's like it kind of mixes like virtual reality and like reality, and like so I'm gonna have like the scans of the coins be like kind of like floating in the space, and like when you like put your phone up and like scan it, you can like see it.
Could you tell us what it's like to work with a real life Indiana Jones?
I honestly think it's really cool. It didn't really like sink into me until like you said that. I feel like it makes sense because we're in Vandy, so obviously there's going to be professors working with really like prestigious people in other like fields, but yeah, it feels really cool and surreal.
It'll be, we can just have that one next to each other.
Like, currently I don't really know much about them yet, but this is the main one I've been studying throughout the semester. It's a super tiny bullet that was found, and there's a little indent. I don't know if my fingers are covering it, but there's like a little indent right there. And I've made a photogrammetry model of that one, a structured light model of that, and also I 3D printed it. I don't know if like you want me to also show the 3D printing. I can.
Yeah, if you still have it.
Yes. Even though one of them, this one is incomplete, you can still see like the indentation and the texture of the bullet there, and then this one is the completed version where you can still see the indentation and it's still pretty detailed and very textured. And then this was given to me by Joanna because she made the 3D model of this bullet casing.
So what me and the professor and I are doing we're going into the software called Blender and essentially just switching the file format so that the object then includes the texture pack and is a little bit smaller so that spatial can support the file size. What it is. So like we put color on it. You can see how there's no color on this. Yeah, there's no color on this. That's what I'm about to change with the software, but we already did these and they've got color on them.
And this is virtual reality, right?
Yeah, this is virtual reality. So once we're done, we're gonna put them on pedestals and add notes, and so people can put the VR headsets on and view the artifacts.
Now our file I saved, because I edited it in the software, I saved it as a new file, which will be right here. So I'll grab that one, I'll put it on the flash drive. And this is the file I want. It says how long it'll take. It's 1 hour, 0 minutes, so 1 hour exactly. So this is how a G-code will load into the software here. This is the object that's actually being printed now. If you want to show, sort of, this is the G-code versus the actual printed model.
I'm here today with Professor Kaisa Sawe, Andrew W. Mellon, Professor of Digital Design at the Studio Art Department here at Vanderbilt University.
My name is Kais Assali and I work at the Vanderbilt Art Department. I teach classes in design.
Could you tell us just a little bit about your background and your specialities?
I'm an artist, designer, I teach graphic design and I work with ideas around using archive, going back in history, in different projects I did. I find myself interested in how we could look at technologies nowadays to look back at historical problems, historical issues. So I find myself so many times looking at the archives, thinking of technologies where we can rethink those archives and histories and retell them and connect to the history and how those histories relate to who we are, our identities, and how we connect to people around us and people in different regions, and how those histories really intertwine, and what is about me can relate to what is about someone else. So in my work, I think of two main components: empathy and responsibility in design.
I'm here with Gigi, one of the students in Professor Asali's graphic design class.
So we've studied kind of the house as a whole, but really just looking into the history and how we can take graphic design and model some element of that. And recently I've been working on a project of creating a design of fine china based off a plate that y'all's class has found. And so by doing that, I'm currently in the process of using virtual reality to position them around the house.
What are you studying at Vanderbilt, and what got you interested in this class?
Yeah, so I'm a sophomore. I'm majoring in cognitive studies and architecture in the built environment. And I chose this class because I thought it'd be relevant to architecture, because I'm planning on pursuing that after I graduate. So I felt like having some experience with graphic design would be really helpful. This whole class we've been doing like different exhibitions relating to like branding the home and like symbols like about the home that we can like put in the exhibition. And then my final project, I'm not totally sure yet, but I think it might relate to like something about the historical aspect of it.
I just made it into like a retro vintage style, and then for other spines they're actually taken from image traces of the actual pictures of the Von home, or for certain people who used to live in the Von home.
Today we're here with Dr. Kais Asali's graphic design class, and I'm here with one of his students, Phoebe, to talk with her a little bit about what she's learned and about her final project.
We've done several projects for the Von home so far. For example, one of them is kind of this typology design for the Von home. So essentially, we went to the Von home, we looked at several articles and kind of background information about the whole area and the architecture. And then we created a system design for the home that represents kind of its history, values, and that kind of thing.
I'm here with David, one of his students. David, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. My name is David, currently senior studying computer science. And I'm interested in typography, which is basically a font, how they interact with people. So that drew me into studying graphic design. So I personally looked into the windows of Von home and made a lot of artifacts using the windows, especially making faces. So my project is called Von Face.
Could you just say a little bit about your project and what the meaning behind it is?
For sure. So I took a lot of pictures of Von Home and traced out only the windows. And I personally like drawing a lot of faces, so I put the windows as eyes or facial structure and added some points to it to make it a face. So that's why you see in this picture that this house looks like a face. The reason why I did is I believe that the Von Home itself looked through a lot of historical changes of Vanderbilt. So I wanted to draw a face. Von Home itself is a witness to a lot of changes and development of Vanderbilt.
I think that's wonderful, and I also feel like the eyes are like are key to like somebody's soul. And in this case, you're saying they're key to the history of not only the Von Home, but also the education here at Vanderbilt and what it's witnessed so far.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's a wonderful project.
I have pictures of the past of Vanderbilt and the present moment, and you'll be able to drag them.
So my name is Kiki Huang, and I'm currently a senior majoring in economics at Vanderbilt University. I'm originally from Shanghai, China. So the reason why I took this class is really just because I've always been passionate about art. That's the first place. So I always wanted to choose an art class for my senior year to fully enjoy the art world, I guess. And also I'm a business minor as well. So during my experience taking business classes, we learn a lot about like business, like value proposition and branding and things about that. So it really attracts me sometimes in terms of how a business can simply use a logo or like a symbol they created to use for marketing and attract the customers they're targeting or they want to attract. So I guess this is the key part why specifically the graphic design class really just got me really fascinated.
I think that's really interesting. Could you just tell me a little bit about, I know we're working with the Von Home and the exhibition that's currently going on. Could you tell me just a little bit about maybe what your final project is going to be?
My current thought is maybe to create some kind of like UI UX design to embed within like a website. For example, this UI UX design will guide the viewers to look through like what exactly is on each floor, and then when they click into each detail that's like laid out on the website, they will see, for example, the history of a chair, for example, or simply just like a furniture or anything like interesting stories happening at the time that's related to like the details of in Von Home. I guess just to give the viewers a sense of like story and history at the same time, just like guide them through the timeline to make them feel what a house of memory is like. So this is a previous project that I did, which is based on the idea of Von Home as house of memory. And specifically in this project, I was trying to combine the concept of light, shadow, and space to form a very abstract idea of what time can look like in the most tangible way possible, and how the audience or viewers can try to explore the idea of time through looking at the light and shadow that's projected in the spaces within Von Home.
Today we're here with Dr. Victoria Hensley, a postdoctoral scholar in the History of Art Department at Vanderbilt University. Dr. Hensley works here at the Von Home. Her research focuses primarily on Southern material culture and historical preservation. And she's also helping curate an exhibit here at the Von Home in addition to teaching class.
I've been here at Vanderbilt for almost a year now. I was brought on as kind of part of the final stages of an NEH Connections grant, which focused on the Von Home as kind of this like learning laboratory for students kind of across campus. So we've had several history of art classes taught, but also a digital storytelling class, archaeology, anthropology, even an engineering class was part of this project. This semester, of course, is our exhibition, which will hopefully be installed before the next academic year.
How do you feel being a part of this sesquicentennial exhibit that we're trying to go through with and bring it not only into a workplace, but also somewhat a museum exhibit to remember the importance of the Vaughn home itself?
Right. I mean, I'm extremely honored to be able to be a part of this. It's an exciting project, right? So whenever you have a building that is this old, especially on a campus, there's always some worry. Is it going to be torn down? Will we continue to have a use for it? So what's great about these projects is that it's also the university saying, hey, this place is important, and these stories that it can tell us are important, especially in this big sesquicentennial year. And so for me, it's just been an honor to be able to come in, meet so many other faculty and staff members who have also been working on this project, to be involved with students, again, with these really hands-on projects that they then also can take a lot of pride in as well, because they know that they've worked on it. And even though there are definitely challenges, again, this is a working space, but we're also adding an exhibition in. It's a challenge that's, it's worth meeting the challenge. It's worth going forth and saying, yes, it's still a working space, but we can put these exhibition components in and allow visitors, whether it be students coming in for a class or folks coming in for a seminar or just a big RPW event itself, people will then be able to also learn something while they're walking through the building. During alumni weekend, we hope to have a lot of alumni come in as well and see, what stories might they not actually know about or might not remember about, their time here at Vanderbilt. And I think all of that is really exciting because, again, it celebrates this history, and it also really brings to light some of these stories that maybe haven't necessarily been told as much as well.
I think that's absolutely beautiful that we're not only encompassing the history of this place, but also the meaning behind it.
Exactly.
And could you just tell me just a little bit about what your students are currently working on for their final project toward the Vaughn Home exhibit?
Yes. So all of my students were able to kind of propose an exhibition component that they wanted to spend the whole semester working on. And so that ranges from a feminist art gallery up here. We're hoping to call it the Stella Vaughn Gallery. Again, honoring Stella Vaughn as one of the pioneering women here. We have a piece on the Wesley Hall fire and how Dr. Vaughn's collection of books, he had like 6,000 books that he donated for the first university library. They all burned in Wesley Hall. So what does it mean when knowledge is lost? What does it mean when, this material culture is lost? So kind of bringing that story back to light as well. We also have a component on the first women's basketball team here at Vanderbilt. So Stella, again, she pretty much lived, breathed, and died Vanderbilt. She's known as the grand old lady of Vanderbilt for a reason. Every student was able to, make a proposal and then also do the research, primary source research, going into special collections. So as we're inching closer to the end of this semester, students are going to be creating the prototypes of everything. So whether it's a draft panel or maybe it's a mock-up of a diorama that is going to act as a miniature period room or something like that. That's what the students will be handing over, so that this summer, myself, some RPW staff, some interns, we're going to be able to work directly with fabricators and then to get all of this installed by August.
Wow, yes. That's exceptionally wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hensley, for your time for research.
Thank you.
Well, hello everybody.
Hello, I'm Dulcinea Thompson.
I'm Jackson Lee.
And today we are at the Vaughn House, interviewing Dr. Victoria Hensley's students in her art history class.
I think that's good to go. That's pretty much it. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Here with Jeremiah, one of the students from Dr. Hensley's class. We're talking about the projects centering on the Vaughn Home exhibition. So, first of all, could you tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Jeremiah Ugolf. I am a senior. I study biomedical engineering, and I'm about to graduate pretty soon, actually.
Tell us a little bit about the Vaughn Home. Is there anything particularly interesting about it to you?
It's pretty cool architecture. It kind of stands out because everything, all the new buildings here seem pretty manufactured. And I didn't really realize that how this university kind of used to just be a big grassy lawn with a couple houses and stuff on it, and that it was kind of just this one big lecture hall. I think Kirkland, the one that's currently under renovation, and then a road with a bunch of the professors' houses where kind of all of the extracurricular life of the university took place, and this is one of them. And it's the only one that remains as far as I understand. My project, particularly for this class, has involved projection mapping, which is, or not really mapping, but using projectors in a museum sense. And that's been really cool to kind of design a installment that will end up actually getting fabricated and installed this summer for the second centennial exhibit. And getting to really just be creative with it has been really exciting.
I'm here today with Leah, you said her name was?
Leah.
So could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm a senior at Vanderbilt, obviously, and I'm in Professor Hensley's class for curation, and I'm studying mathematics and French with a minor in German.
Very interesting. So why did you choose this course?
I think I've always been interested in curation and what goes into the thoughts of museums, and I also just love history. So that's kind of what inspired me to take this course. As someone who studies math, I was interested in what that kind of looks like in the 19th century when he was a professor. I think also Stella Vaughan was really impactful for the women at Vanderbilt University. She was a student in the 19th century, which was way before other women were allowed even at this university. Vanderbilt was also a pioneer in women's education. If you look at when Yale, Brown, Harvard all got women students, it was much after Vanderbilt. I think a lot about what I've learned about the history of Vanderbilt has been through my research for my exhibition component, but in the course we talk a lot about the history of the home, as well as curation techniques in general. For example, today we have a guest speaker who's talking about how you make an exhibition component. We visited a lot of sites in Nashville as well. I visited Travelers Rest Plantation, and then as a class we visited the Belmont Mansion just to gain some inspiration.
What is your final project?
So mine takes place in the library downstairs, and that's the room where we normally have our class meetings. That was Dr. William Vaughn's personal library. So we had a bunch of books there, and in that room a couple of students are working on the academic portion of it. Our overarching theme is hidden narratives. So for me that meant the hidden narrative of what academia actually looks like in the 19th century. So my exhibition component is on Dr. Vaughn's teachings and 19th century just mathematics in general, exams in general. I've been doing a little bit of work in the archives to look at what that looks like.
I'm here today with Tess from Dr. Victoria Hensley's art history class, which meets here in the Vaughan home.
I'm a medicine, health, and society major, and I really just wanted to step out of my comfort zone because I've never taken a museum class. Like, I have no background knowledge on anything, so I was just like, this is a really great learning opportunity. And so I thought it would be really fun, and the class description looked great, so yeah. It's been awesome. I love it so much. It's my favorite class of the semester.
Well, there you go. Take it. Tell us a little bit about your project.
So me and Bill, we're actually working on a basketball component. And so with Stella Vaughan, she created the first women's basketball team here at Vanderbilt, and I'm an athlete, so I was really drawn to kind of finding that narrative and kind of going about how I can show athletics within this home, because it's not just about like the history of just William Vaughan and all that stuff. Like, I just wanted to bring in something unique and kind of target a new community, like the athletic community. And so we're creating this basketball backboard, and it's going to be shattered in the back, kind of representing like breaking the glass ceilings with Stella Vaughan and kind of bringing women of Vanderbilt like into the light and giving them the same opportunities that men were given.
Here with Devin. Could you please just tell us a little bit about who you are, what your major is, and why you decided to take this class?
Yeah, so my name is Devin. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a sophomore here at Vanderbilt, and my major is cognitive studies, and I'm doing minors in art history and cinema and media arts. So I decided to take this class since it's an art history class. I think it's really interesting the way museum exhibition is oftentimes very shaped by human psychology and how we think.
Oh, that's wonderful.
My project is called Remembering Lost Knowledge, It's going to be a bookcase that is charred and burnt because upon his death, William J. Vaughan, who was a professor who lived here with his family, upon his death, about 6,000 books were donated to the first iteration of the Vanderbilt Library, which at the time was called Wesley Hall. But unfortunately, in 1932, there was a massive fire that destroyed all of Wesley Hall and the volumes it contained. So all of Professor Vaughan's books were lost in that process. So this kind of exhibition and empty bookcase is paying homage to the lost knowledge and the contribution that Professor Vaughan made to the university library at that time.
I think that's a wonderful contribution to this museum exhibit and also the meaning behind lost knowledge itself. It's very powerful. Leo, who is in the art history class with Dr. Victoria Hensley.
I'm Leo. I'm a sophomore here at Vanderbilt, majoring in neuroscience and architecture. So that's kind of what led me to this class about museum exhibition, because it really blends really nicely with that art history side of my academics. I think what I really love about this course is it's kind of one part history, but another part about communicating history, which I just find really cool. We're able to learn about the material, but also find a way to share it with other people. So yeah, through that we've learned about the servants' quarters back there, we've learned about the women's dormitory, we learned about Dr. Vaughan as a mathematics professor and stuff like that, and just finding a way to really put this in a format that's manageable for other people and is easy to sort of communicate. So my project kind of focuses more on the exterior of the building. It's kind of like an introductory element. Because of the history of the home, there used to be a lot of ivy out front. So to kind of virtually bring that back, I'm going to be projecting a hidden narratives title on the front facade of the house made of different vines. Honestly, I just love how long this house has been here, It's located very centrally on campus too, which is kind of where this campus started as well, and you can kind of see how the different buildings around here share similar architectural styles with the brick and stuff like that, but we also have a lot of different types of architecture that sort of stem from this point outwards.
Hello, I'm Dulcinea here with Bill, who's in the art history class with Dr. Hensley. Could you tell us just a little bit about yourself, your major? What made you take this class?
Okay. Hi, I'm Bill. I'm doing a double major in biology and communication of science and technology. So what makes me into this class is my huge interest into museum. I love to go to museum when I visit other places. So also I have a lot of friends back in China that learned history and also museum curation. So I would love to find more share topic with them, and also I would love to learn more about how museum works in their curation, how I can see those works better when I go to museum. So that's why I'm taking this course.
I think that's a wonderful reason to take this. Has it been fun so far? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's been really fun so far. I've learned a lot of knowledge on how to curate museum and also the ethics behind them. Other than that, I'm working on my project, so I'm really doing a lot of research on the hidden things that I really did not know before, when I came to Vanderbilt.
Could you tell us just a little bit more about your project?
Yeah, my project is focusing on Stella Vaughan's one of her position in Vanderbilt as the first women's basketball coach, and also I'm working with Tess. I think you guys have interviewed her.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are working on this project together to show the struggles that Stella Vaughan's have been facing since her built this basketball team, because women's basketball wasn't really a thing at those times, but she really devoted herself, he devoted a lot of efforts into this field, and so makes and then finally he makes the whole Vanderbilt women's basketball into a thing.
Wonderful.
I would say it's kind of a fabulous experience for me. So first of all, I have never experienced this house, this Victorian house that looks quite normal in this campus, have so many history and also stories hidden behind. And also I have never thought about the host of this house is really connected to the campus.
You're gonna have the 150th anniversary tassel on your graduation hat. How do you feel about that?
I guess I never really thought about that. It's honestly really cool. I mean, I haven't wrapped my head around that I'm actually graduating yet, so I think it'll feel like very surreal whenever I actually put the hat on and I walk across stage. But yeah, I'm just excited for a new chapter in life.
And how do you feel to be a part of this quincentennial exhibit and also just the entire project as a whole?
I mean,
Vanderbilt community.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something I've never been a part of, and it's really cool to think in the future, like, oh, I helped create this, because I'm hoping that this museum is going to reach a lot of people, because given like our connections, I really think it will. And so it's giving me like a lot of pride to know that like I'm contributing and kind of bringing this to a new community of people.
I think it will too. Thank you very much, Tess, for your time.
Thank you.
And congratulations.